Last season, I mentioned a word called extrapolation. And I'm going to get back to that word today because we are talking about sparing the rod and spoiling the child. In other words, asiyefunzwa na mamaye hufunzwa na ulimwengu. Now, extrapolating is having the ability to look at a situation or a thing now and visualize its magnitude 20 years later. And that theory is used a lot in savings circles. So look at your 10 shillings now and extrapolate in 20 years, how can that 20 shillings grow into a huge savings amount if you continue to add 10, 10, 10? And so with parenting and with discipline, it is important to extrapolate. In other words, it is important to look at that behavior that your child has now, whether positive or negative, and visualize it 20 years from now. How much will it have morphed into a monster that you will not be able to control at that point in time? That's extrapolation. So now I'm going to take a few minutes to share with you how discipline and correction in my home works as a parent and how I discipline and correct my children. So I have 3 children. My eldest is 15 years old, so she's a teenager. My second is 8 years old, and the last is 4 years old. So as you can see from the age differences, the way I relate to them and handle correction and discipline is very different. Now, as a rule of thumb between my husband and I, if you are a child of ours in our home, and you are between the ages of 9 months and 10 years, the only way we correct is through spanking. There is no other way for us. If you are between 11 years to adulthood, we approach correction and discipline in a different way because we believe beyond the age of 10 years old, a child is able to reason in a sense, and you can have a conversation with them and then introduce corrective measures and discipline methods that are related to things they like taking away privileges, grounding them, and other ways that you can be creative to make sure your child feels the consequences of their actions. But if you're under 10, I don't think there's any other way. There's no conversation. I cannot reason with you. You are a child. And the only way I can correct you is to connect a bad behavior or a disobedient action to spanking. And that's exactly what I do. Okay, so before you discipline or correct your child, it is important that they understand what actions attract a disciplinary measure. So the kids have to be aware that if I do this, this is the consequence. Please don't go into shock combat with your children. Let your children understand that there are certain actions that have certain consequences and lay the rules down in advance. Yeah. So in my house, this is how it goes. We believe lying and rebellion are the highest forms of wrong. Yeah. And rebellion is when a child has the audacity to tell you, no, I will not do it. Yeah. Lying is also a serious offense in our home. And so for that, we give 6 canes. Now, please remember, the cane is not your hand. The cane is not a shoe. The cane is not a plate. We have a special cane we create using a plastic hanger. We cut down the bottom part of the hanger, and it's a long plastic cane. And we make sure that the caning is inflicted on a fleshy area like the thigh or the buttocks. Make sure you don't apply the discipline of caning on areas that are bony because you can easily injure a child. The fleshy parts have lots of nerves, especially the buttocks, and so the pain sends a message to the brain to tell the child, do not repeat this again. So that's rebellion and lying. The second category is disobedience. When we ask a child to do something and they disobey, that is an automatic 3 canes in the buttocks. When we keep repeating ourselves to a child, because children can be very manipulative. You tell a child to do one thing today, you have to repeat yourself the next day, you have to repeat yourself every day. That is not right. And the child needs to grasp what you're trying to tell them. When we engage in a lot of repetition, we give 1 stroke of the cane. The last aspect is the tantrums and the pouting, especially in supermarkets and around things that they want. They tend to manipulate you. That is 2 strokes of the cane. And so before we go to the supermarket, we tell our kids the cane is always with us in my bag and it fits. And so if there are any tantrums or any pouting or any whining, you will receive the consequences for that. And that's very important. Another thing that's very important, apart from laying down the rules before caning a child, is following these few steps before you cane a child and during the process of spanking. First thing is always reiterate and repeat the rules that are in place or the code of behavior that is in place. Secondly, make sure if rules are broken or codes of behaviors are crossed, no matter how many times that happens, the most important encouragement I can give you today, be consistent. Do not get tired. So if she lies in the morning, correct her. If she lies at lunchtime, correct again. If she lies in the evening, correct again. Please, please do not tire. Thirdly, as I said, use a specific tool for spanking. Do not use your hands. Do not use other items. Lastly, please make sure once you mete out discipline to your child or you spank your child, that you reassure that child that it is their behavior you dislike, not them. And reassure that child that your relationship with them stands regardless of their behavior, and you are correcting them because you love them. It's very important for a child to hear that and for a child's mind to register that discipline is an act of love, and that should not instill fear in them. And lastly, if you basically are pursuing a good relationship with your children, then this discipline process should go very smoothly. One more important thing I left out when I laid out the rules of thumb when spanking your child is please make sure you respect your child's privacy. How do you do that? I spank my children in private. I don't spank them in front of other family members. I don't even spank them in front of their other siblings. I meet every child individually, talk to them individually, correct them individually, and preserve their privacy. So that even when they're leaving the room with me, they are not a mess and it's not clear for everyone to see that they've been crying or wailing. And that's the end of today's episode. I hope that what I've shared from my life will be relevant to many of you. As I said, this is my opinion. You can pick what you need to pick and you can leave what you need to leave. But that is what works for me. I'm excited about next week's episode. Please keep engaging with us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we'll be happy. Give us content and let us continue engaging with you. Have a wonderful week.